West United's inaugural cup winners. Chris Economides wins the cup for Melbourne Victory. Sydney FC then win the cup.
And MacArthur, for the second time, are Australia Cup winners.
It's an all A-League affair in Victoria as Western United meets Sydney FC for the second time in the Australia Cup. Good evening and welcome to Ironbark Fields. We're here on Wadawurrung and Boonwurrung country in Tarneet as Western United play host to the Sky Blues. Western United were written off last season as wooden spoon candidates, but their young brigade stunned the A-League to finish third, while Sydney's more highly fancied title contenders missed the finals. Western have maintained the bulk of their squad, while Sydney will put more of a spotlight on their academy products this season. So where is the trajectory this campaign? Today, we get the first glimpse in a competitive fixture. There is no wind around tonight at Ironbark Fields. Perfect conditions for football for this one in this all A-League clash. Western United looking to make it past the round of 32. They weren't even at this stage last year, eliminated in the playoffs by the Newcastle Jets. They've been knocked out in the round of 32 just once by Wellington Phoenix back in 2021, while for Sydney, well, they're looking for a record-equaling win tonight. If they get through to the round of 16, it will be the 9th time they have reached that level, joining Adelaide United, who get the chance to make it 10 tomorrow, and Western United, I should say, and Western Sydney, who made it 9 times last week. Well, there's the debutant, Bessian Kutleshi. What a story. The 16-year-old current Joey actually played in the Under-17 Asian Cup in April. It'll be Western United's youngest debutant in the A-League if he gets that opportunity in a few months' time. He is their youngest debutant in a competitive match tonight. While for Sydney, Paul Ocon Jr. will make his senior bout. He's been playing with Benfica B in Portugal. His father, of course, former Socceroo Paul Ocon. A look at the rest of the team news, and John Aloisi gives the North Sunshine product Kutleshi a senior debut. It's a new look front line from their semi-final defeat to Melbourne City after the departures of Bodic and Roos. So Nadovski will start alongside Laval. While on the bench, Koda Kadur, he could play his first competitive minutes after missing last season with an ACL injury. While the older brother of Dylan Leonard, who starts in the centre of defence, Mark, is on the bench. He's Western United's leading goal scorer in the Victorian Premier League 1 competition. That's the division under the NPL Victoria. He scored 12 goals in 22 matches, including a hat-trick earlier this season. '19-year-old goalkeeper Gus Herslut will start in goal, with Harrison Devonish-Mears missing with an ankle injury. The other new faces, Paul Ocon Jr., as I mentioned, the son of Socceroo. Paul Ocon, who's joined Sydney from Benfica. Reece Ewley is also part of the starting 11 after signing a 3-year deal from Belgian club Westerlo. And the hero from their pre-season clash with Wrexham, Joe Lacey, is on the bench, along with fellow new recruit Al Hassan Toure, who's joined the club from the US. FC Tulsa was his most recent club after last playing in the A-League men's competition with MacArthur. Well, there were some doubts whether John Aloisi would return to Western United this season. He got the assurances, and he has signed on for another 2 seasons, despite somewhat of a cloud around Western United. They do have that FIFA registration ban hanging over them. That means Jaden Kaczarski cannot play tonight. So too Ben Garuccio, because He was unsigned at the end of last season, became a free agent, re-signed then by Western, and that's the reason he can't play. Ufi Talay, the head coach of Sydney. We are underway here in Tarneet. Western United and Sydney FC in this all A-League bout for the second time in this competition. And maybe an early chance here for Pat Wood. As I bring in Phil Moss. Mossy, we are really looking forward to this one. You never know what you're going to get in these all A-League affairs.
You certainly don't, Ben. Great to be alongside you for this one. And it's that early in pre-season that, you know, competitive football is just not part of the BAU of either club at this stage. But BAU being, of course, business as usual. But it's certainly a great opportunity for the players to get out there, kick a ball in anger, start to work on some of the things they've been doing on the training pitch. And, of course, Sydney FC with that game against Wrexham gave them a taste of playing in front of a crowd again. But a really important fixture tonight for both clubs, because this competition, as grand as it is on its own, it also gives the clubs competitive games to look forward to, breaks up the pre-season. So a lot on the line.
So some familiar faces. And one thing definitely noticed this season, more so than in other Australia Cup editions, is there are a lot more familiar faces in these squads to begin the new season. Maybe that's a product of the financial situation of some of the clubs and just wanting to stick with the tried and tested from last season. Of course, Western United having that outstanding campaign where they finished third. Many expected them to finish down the bottom of the table. And for Sydney FC, well, many expected them to finish up the top. They finished 7th. They missed the final. So there's a bit of pressure on Ufi Talay this season. Just a one-year extension. So he knows that they've got to get it right this season.
You know what? If he'd won the league last year, of course, that would have been better than where they finished. But there's always pressure when you're coaching a big club like Sydney FC. When you're coaching in the A-League, pressure is just part and parcel of the game. Of course, Ufi Talay has been around long enough to know the pressure that's on him. But you know, he's done some recruiting during the off-season. It looks as though they're changing slightly how they're going to play this season. Already we're seeing Yuli and Quintal playing as a front two, with Lolly and Patrick Wood either side.
So Thurgate with the first corner, looking for the head of Laval. Courtney Perkins got up and Hersloot with the grab. Started in that match against Wrexham in that first half, did Gus Hersloot, and what an opportunity for the Helensburgh junior. 19-year-old gets his chance tonight as they play it out from the back, Sydney FC. King around the corner, and Imai hands it back for Western United. Kutleshi, 16 years of age for the Joey, who was part of that under-17 Asian Cup early this year in April. Under Brad Maloney, the coach for that tournament. Carl Veert has now taken over as the under-17 Australian men's head coach. And Mossy, you mentioned how Sydney are going to play this season. I did speak to Ufi Talay about that during the week, and he did mention that defensively they may not be as aggressive as they have been in his first couple of years at the club. Maybe a little bit more circumspect, because we know there was a lot of talk about that high press, that energy that they brought, but it's sometimes hard to play that style in the height of summer in Australia, week to week.
Yeah, it certainly is. Ufi Talay and his staff will know the loads that are in the players and their endurance levels, speed, endurance, and things like that. But I don't actually think it was how they defended from the front that was the biggest issue last season. I think it was more individual errors and goalkeeping decisions and things like that in the back third that cost them that defensive record. But it'll be interesting to see how they line up. You can see the two young boys through the middle there with Patrick Wood and Joe Lolly in behind in the wide areas. So whether they play more as sort of false nines and Wood and Lolly get over the top, we'll wait and see as it unfolds.
Well, Michael Zapponi is downstairs on the sideline for us. Zappers, how are things downstairs this evening?
Yeah, fantastic. Very cold, Benny, but we've got no wind at all, which is very rare for Tarneit, so perfect conditions for football. You touched on Bessian Kutleshi, 16 years, 151 days. He becomes the youngest player to ever play a senior game for Western United. They've been very impressed with his form in the NPL. As you said, he was part of that Joey side, but a huge future expected for him. We're looking forward to seeing how he goes in that right back position tonight. He can play as a centre back as well and does so in the NPL, and it highlights just how young this side is. 13 of the 18 out there tonight for Western United under the age of 23.
Thank you, Zappers. Looking forward to checking in with you tonight as Laval with a tester for Herfsloot. Keeper of his quality should no doubt be up to the task there, but just builds that confidence every moment that he gets. There's a slip, invites the pressure here.
Well, that's the second time that they've played out short through Herfsloot when the press is set, the Western United press is set. So they're clearly been instructed by Ufi Tale to play out under all circumstances early in this game. And all it takes is a small slip like that, a misdirected pass. You can see how Western United, they're pressing with that front three. They're prepared to play some keep ball, Sydney FC, to draw that press even more, and then they go over the top.
Well, they certainly are. It's going to be entertaining to watch that playing out from the back. They are certainly really inviting Western United on. And that's another thing to watch for Sydney this year. A lot of the focus being put on their academy products, their younger players this season. And yes, they're still going to go after the likes of Thomas Muller, as we've heard this week, as sort of experienced visa players that can really help them down the spine. But in terms of their Aussie players, they want them to be young players that are coming through their academy. And obviously John Aloisi has done an outstanding job doing just that at Western United.
Yeah, look, I think it's the way the A-League's going, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to bring foreigners in, they should be experienced. They should be able to add something that young Aussie players can't. But it's still, you've still got to have the balance. I mean, there's some experienced Aussies in this squad for Sydney FC. You think of Ryan Grant as just an example.
Camijo, an important win there. And the strike from Ocon Jr. I should say Quintal it was. Well blocked off by West, and here is Kutleshi. King. This is Ocon Jr. Quintal back to Courtney Perkins. Grimaldi now. Western United afforded this chance by a little bit of sloppiness from Sydney. They too just unable to end that little raid with a chance on goal.
Well, it's another example, Western United, you can see right there on the wide shot, there's the front four pressing, which leaves two in midfield, which means there's space in midfield for Sydney to play into. But if they misdirect their pass, then Western are well set for transition to attack. And we've seen that on a couple of occasions, even this first sort of 9 or so minutes.
Ufi Tale just wanting a little bit more width from his side. So players unavailable for Sydney tonight. Harrison Devonish-Mears with an ankle injury. He's going to get that looked at today just to see how severe it was. He did play in that Wrexham game in the second half, so wait and see whether they do need to do some more digging in the goalkeeping department. Potentially could be out for a bit longer. And Douglas Costa still in Brazil. Leo Senna also not part of the matchday squad. I did ask the Sydney hierarchy reason why, and they just said not selected. So you can read into that as much as you would like. As Kutleshi chipping it up the line to Laval. Takes on King. Should earn a free kick and does here. Is there anything further? It's a yellow card for King. We cannot believe it, Mossy. I'm surprised.
Well, I'm not overly surprised. I don't think Joel King really gave the referee an option. Ollie Laval with a really strong run. It was very direct. The intent was excellent. And Joel King just got his body positioning all wrong and then had a fistful of his shirt. So I know we're early in this game, but really Jack Morgan had no choice but to reach for the yellow card.
He is elusive, Ollie Laval. We did see him spits and spurts last season. Scored against Auckland late on in the campaign. So he will be dangerous up front. So Wallasey with the free kick. And Bozanovsky back in towards a penalty spot. Falls for Thurgate. Clips it over the top towards Nidovsky. It's a scramble and King is able to get it away for the moment. Well, that was hearts in mouths moments for Sydney FC defensively.
Well, they've really dodged the bullet there, Sydney FC. Herfsloot came flapping at it. He was nowhere near it in the end. They were blessed that it fell to a sky blue foot to clear the danger. Now they're on the attack.
Wallasey and Thurgate. And this will be a throw for Western United.
No surprise to see the pitch in fantastic nick. The ball's really zipping around. As Zappa said, there's no wind down at pitch level, so that makes for a really good game of football. The ball's speed of both sides has been reasonably good, considering the stage of pre-season.
And Western United, they do get a fair bit of criticism, but one aspect where they get a lot of praise is the quality of this pitch. And yes, it does sometimes get windy at Tarneet, but a lot of the players say that this pitch is always in an immaculate condition. Of course, it doesn't have other codes trampling it, so that is very, very helpful. So it makes for a great spectacle, especially considering there is no wind around tonight in Tarneet. It's about 10 degrees. Perfect for the players.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, Ben, to see how Sydney FC compensate for the loss of the likes of Caceres, Kacharski, Segicic. I mean, that was some real ammunition, particularly off the bench with the latter two. And Caceres, I think he's up there with the best midfielders in the competition last season. He was really a consistent, creative midfielder who laid on the last pass or scored goals for them. It was a massive loss.
Just an outstanding technician, isn't he, Caceres? Big loss, heading to the Bulls. And so their top two leading scorers from last year, Segicic and Klamala, both gone. And Western have that issue tonight as well. So Ibasuki out with injury. Botic, of course, gone. So their top two leading scorers from last year. So where do the goals come from this year? That's the question. Obviously, Kacharski is signed. If you miss that FIFA registration ban means that he cannot play at the moment. So we didn't get that spectacle of him coming up against his old side. But you feel like he's obviously an option. But tonight it's Nadovsky and Laval that get the first opportunity.
Yeah, and I think, look, the form that Ibasuki showed last season, he can recapture that once he's back playing. That'll be a massive bonus for John Aloisi, of course. But Sydney FC, where do their goals come from? You get the feeling that they're not done with the transfer market just yet.
You may have missed the talk last week about Joe Lolly and Adam Taggart. Perth Glory wanted to get Joe Lolly to the club. Obviously, connection there. David Drillich, former assistant at Sydney. And Sydney said, well, we'll let you have Lolly if you give us Taggart. And that was swiftly denied. So,
well, I thought that was really interesting because the comments I saw about Joe Lolly wanting to leave Sydney and go to Perth were from Perth, which I found really interesting given that he's a Sydney FC player.
Joel King, in a promising moment there for Sydney, just couldn't quite kill the ball.
Yeah, the pass from Tiago Quintal was just behind Joel King. Otherwise, it was a promising move building down the left-hand side for Sydney FC. So a phenomenal pass from Quintal. Wasn't quick enough for the run of Joel King down the left.
We can see for Western more pronounced targets up top, and especially Nidovsky alongside Laval there, a bit of height to him. But for Sydney, not quite as much. Kutleshi nudged around the corner by Grimaldi. This is Laval. Nidovsky in the middle. It's hung up towards Wallity. And now Russell arriving late, dropping it off to Thurgate. Thurgate and Bozanovsky combination last year, wasn't it outstanding, those two holders? We've got some good holding midfield combinations in the A-League in the recent years. The likes of Ballard and Nisbet. Teague alongside Valadon at Melbourne Victory, and Thurgate and Bozanovsky here at Western United. Thurgate. And whipped away by Ocon Jr. So 8 slots remaining in the round of 16. We've already got 8 clubs booking their way through to the final 16 of the Australia Cup 2025. Got some intriguing matches also on tonight. Olympic Kingsway hosting Melbourne Victory. Auckland FC playing in the Australia Cup for the first time against Gold Coast Knights. And SD Raiders against MacArthur in the local derby. Wallity touched on to Thurgate. Camijo. And Herfsloot. This may invite some more pressure from Western United. Bozanovsky just more desperate for it. So Sydney's struggling to move it out of their own half here. Wallaty's delivery cut out by Popovic. And you can hear the encouragement from Ufi Tale on the sideline. They're really being hemmed in here, Sydney. Kudleshi Hooks it back, Laval. And a corner on the way for Western United.
He's had a lively opening 20 minutes, Laval, for Western United, just occupying that right-hand channel as a front man next to Jake Nadowski, but Nadowski primarily on the left-hand side, Laval on the right. Every time he's touched the ball so far, he's made something happen.
Arvel Wallity, it's a low corner. Handled by Sydney. John Aloisi will be happy with the pressure his team is applying thus far. Had a great record here at Tarneet last season. Most recent game was that elimination final win over Adelaide. Of course, they couldn't play the semi-final against Melbourne City here. Both of those legs were played at Amy Park. They were hoping to be able to play those matches against Melbourne opposition here in Tarneet this season. We'll wait and see whether that is able to happen. Reece Ewley made just one A-League appearance, did Reece Ewley, back in February 2023 with MacArthur. Then he went over to Westerlo in Belgium. And this, for a moment, was saved by Ryan Grant because he had two players in green and black bearing down on him. But Western just looked quicker to those 50-50 balls. Here is a little bit of fortune, though, for Sydney on the counter-attack because Leshy is being stretched and did well to force the cross into the lap of Sutton.
Well, it's a Sydney FC attack in the end. Nothing to really trouble Sutton from Wood at the end of it. But for the third time I've counted, Sydney FC players slipping in their own defensive third. Herf slipped when he cleared the ball just a couple of minutes ago. Then there was, I think it was Popovic went to ground, gave the ball away. Just wondering if they're maybe in the wrong footwear at the back, or it's a bit softer in the back third. Sydney FC are.
Well, midway point of this first half, Mossy, who do you think of the coaches would be happier with the start to this match?
Oh, I think you'd have to go with Johnny Aloisi. I think they've been pressing well. They're well set. They know that Sydney FC are going to try and play out short. And their transitions to attack, although not bearing fruit, there's another one slipping.
Yeah, and it invites Thurgate this time. Grimaldi. Enough pressure being applied there by King. And Courtney Perkins put under pressure.
Yes, I think Johnny will be happy with the way they're pressing, the way they're defending, and then the transitions to attack, although there's not been a sharp cutting edge yet. They're certainly look more threatening than Sydney.
Of course, Ibasuki to come back, but that is going to be the big question.
There's another slip.
Yeah, what's doing here, Mossy?
Yeah,
what would you be doing at half-time?
getting them to change their footwear.
How many pairs of boots do you take with you to an away match?
Well, it's down to the player, but if you get the wrong footwear and it costs your team, you're generally in running shoes in the grandstand the following week. So you don't have to make a choice.
Showing real bravery here, Sydney FC. They play it from the back again. Ocon Jr. Popovic and Camijo. And Sydney with probably one of their best little passages there. Still unable to create a chance on goal, and now Wallity is tiptoeing down the sideline, earning a throw for Western. Zappers, no doubt you would have had a little trot on the pitch pre-game. Did you notice whether it was slippery or not?
Yeah, not particularly, but what I have noticed is that Bessian Kudleshi and Pat Wood, who are on the sideline closest to me, have got those longer stops in, those steel stops, the old-fashioned ones that give you a bit more traction on the pitch. And I have noticed a couple of the other players are wearing the same as well, but I'm sure the coaching staff will make sure, especially from Sydney FC, that they do change those boots at half-time for those that are slipping over in this first half. But a really active John Eloisi, very encouraging, especially to his younger charges, and very happy with what he's seeing so far. Not so much from the Sydney FC side. Ufuk Talay really calling for them to press higher when they don't have the ball, Sydney FC, and to close down the space on Western United.
Thanks, Zappers.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that. Zappers, great insights from the sideline, listening to what the coach's instructions are. Sydney FC really setting that midfield block rather than going and pressing high.
Is it, Mossy, as we said, this ball will trickle over the byline, is it Sydney trying to find a balance between the aggressiveness of the last couple of seasons and where they want to go this year? Are they just trying to find that balance?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because there's different aspects to aggression in defence. You can talk about aggressively pressing high up the pitch. You can talk about, pressing wherever your block is, being aggressive in your press within that block, into one-on-one challenges as well, winning your battles. So there's different aspects to aggression. But there's one thing for sure and certain: they are taking some risks playing out from the back, Sydney FC, under immense pressure.
Well, you know what, you do have to admire the bravery, but you can almost see a disaster coming. But for the moment, they've been able to create an opportunity here for Joe Lolly down the right. Shifting it onto that left boot, slips it into Pat Wood, and just not the power behind the strike. And you know what, they look at that and they go, well, we got a chance out of that, playing it out from the back, dicing with a bit of danger, and that's why we do it.
Look, there's no problem with high risk as long as there's some reward attached to it. If it's high risk and mistakes or slips and it costs you a goal, well, then it knocks the confidence out of the strategy. But on that occasion, if you're going to invite the press, you have to play through it, around it, or over it, and then create opportunities up the other end. On that occasion, that was building nicely for Sydney.
Thurgate. Well, we apologise for the fruity language, but he's so passionate. We do love that about him. Ufi Talay. I love sitting on the Zappers has got the best seat in the house. I love sitting on the sideline, just seeing the energy that Ufi brings.
Oh, look, he's very passionate. He was as a player as well. He was a silky player, Ufi Talay. He certainly understood the game very well.
No, you don't play for a club like Galatasaray if you're a mug. He's an absolute talent. We know what he's done as a coach as well with Wellington. Did an outstanding job taking them into the finals, where little was expected of them. Now it's with one of the heavyweights in this competition, Sydney FC, trying to take them back to the promised land as Thurgate nudges it through for Nodovsky, and Wallity able to keep his footing, but he's happy just to let it trickle over for a corner kick.
Yeah, Popovic got just enough on that to avert the danger. He decided early to go for the challenge rather than hold his feet and go with Wallity. It's resulted in a corner. There's a real intent about West United, the way they're going about things tonight straight away. And I'm actually, this time of pre-season, pleasantly surprised with how fluent their footballers look, particularly in transition.
So Grimaldi And Joe Lolly getting a little close for comfort there in the box. And Thurgood, he's bending this one in very, very dangerously. It's nodded back, and Hurslute has made a point-blank save to deny Leonard. Well, that is quite remarkable, and he is a sneaky centre-back, isn't he? Dylan Leonard, he can pop up for a goal.
Yeah, it was good delivery, but Sydney FC really should have dealt with it. How the ball bounces in that area, it's just floated to that back post, and look at that, no one defending that zone. And in the end, Hurslute does well to get out and close the angle and get a hand to it.
So Wallerty this time with the corner. And an awkward one at the back post. Laval into the mix-up. Thurgate. And Bozanovsky. What about the touch there from Bozanovsky? And it is going to be a goal kick. Just having a second look there, I thought potentially it may have hit a teammate, and did.
Yeah, I think it was off Laval, and he tried to play the poker face, but it wasn't going to fool the referees. But what footwork from Bozanovsky. That was absolutely brilliant on the edge of the area, tight areas, a lot of feet and legs around him, but he remained calm. He knew his way to goal. Got for his teammate. He would have to at least pull the save out of Hurslute.
Yeah, talent Bozanovsky in the goal-scoring sense as well. 5 goals last season, which ended up being equal third highest for Western. Scored a double against Newcastle, and that was a classy double as well. Very nearly was able to put them in front here.
Well, look, Thurgate got quite rightly the headlines last season for having an incredible season in the engine room for West United, but I thought Bozanovsky was outstanding as well. On their day, I thought they were probably the best 2 midfield combinations in the league. They had that purple patch, of course, West United.
It was just these players that John Aloisi has managed to get minutes into over the last 3 seasons. You look at Bozanovsky, 54 A-League matches. Grimaldi, 52. Matt Sutton's now close to 40. Dylan Leonard's almost 30 after last season. So they're just getting that experience that now these Sydney FC youngsters who are getting the opportunity this year need to pick up. Because Camijo, he's only played the 8 matches. Of course, Joe Lacey on the bench, he'll be one you sense it'll get more of an opportunity. Reece Yulee as well, the new recruit. Ocon Jr. earning the whistle from Jack Morgan. And it sort of snuck up on us, Mossy, because a lot of people last season said Western, they're going to be challenging for the wooden spoon. But these players with that experience over the previous years learn a lot in the A-League and were able to push themselves into 3rd last season.
Yeah, that's right, but there is a difference between the 2 clubs, and it's certainly no disrespect to Western and anything against their ambition to win things, but at a club like Sydney FC, you are expected to win trophies every single year. So that makes it hard to find that balancing act.
Lolly driving the free kick to the back post. Nadovsky. And then Yulee. Grant. Down goes Popovic. Didn't look like too much contact. There's a Sydney FC player down. Slowly getting back to his feet now.
I think Popovic is lucky he got up very quickly then. Otherwise he may have incurred the wrath.
Bit of simulation. Are you thinking, Mossy?
Yep. He was looking for contact immediately.
Wood. And Kutleshi. Great use of the body and earns the whistle as well.
It's been a good opening half an hour for the youngster, Bessian Kutleshi. Got down the right-hand side a couple of times. He's handled his defensive responsibilities well. Sydney early on were attacking that side of the pitch. Patrick Wood threatening early. Kutleshi standing up to everything asked of him so far.
So he'll be in a battle, you would expect, with Charbel Shamoun this season for that spot right back. Of course, we have seen Imai play as a fullback at times, but of course James Donachie is no longer at the club, so you would anticipate this season, if they both remain at the club, that Leonard and Imai will remain as centre-backs. Tate Russell in a battle at left fullback with Ben Garuccio, who is unable to play tonight due to that FIFA registration ban. And if you have just joined us and you're confused and you're going, well, hang on a second, wasn't he playing last year? Well, the reason he can't play is because that contract lapsed and then Western signed him as a free agent. And that is why he can't play. If they had have re-signed him when he was still signed at the club, he could have played. That's how it's been explained to me. Ryan Grant, the captain for Sydney, off down the right, hanging it up to Pat Wood. And again, Kudleshi making a real nuisance of himself.
Been a good little passage for Sydney FC. Just a couple of half openings. Ryan Grant getting down the right-hand side. And Patrick Wood with a half a chance to pull the trigger on the left-hand side.
Well, you feel like, in terms of the 11 players on the pitch right now, Joe Lolly is the most accomplished finisher. He could be the man in this knockout situation. When the pressure does rise into the second half, really want to look to him. This will be a free kick.
Well, he could be, and, you know, quite rightly should be with his experience, Joe Lolly, but the position he's playing, it's been a lot more outside in a wide area than it has been inside. Even when the ball's coming down the left-hand side, so far he's sort of maintained his width.
Would you prefer to see him playing more in that front two than out wide on the right? Yeah, he certainly is not playing as high up the pitch, and there hasn't been many opportunities for him. Or is Uffy looking for potentially the cross, cutting back onto that left boot, seeing the opportunities coming from that avenue?
Well, we know how dangerous he is playing outside to win. You know, he's a proven winger who can cut inside and create things and score goals with that wonderful left foot of his. But ultimately, he's used to having a platform up front, and I'm not sure the physicality of Thiago Quintal and Reece Yuli is their strong point, and they're both creative on the ball, good silky touches, but they don't really provide that target man to then bring the midfield and then the wide players into it.
Well, maybe it could be the 16-year-old on the bench, Nicole Akon, who's been poached from Western Sydney Wanderers. I tell you what, that is going to be an interesting discussion point if he gets an opportunity to play in the derby this season. Pinched out of the Wanderers Academy. They hadn't signed him. And Sydney said, well, we will sign you on a 3-year deal, and across he came. So we may get a look at him in the second half. He scored a hat-trick for the Joeys when he was a 15-year-old against Saudi Arabia. And they're pretty assured finishers.
I think all handshake agreements were off once Miloš Ninkovic left the sky blue and went across town.
Kudleshi searching for the release of Laval. And Wood, no whistle forthcoming. And with 6 minutes of regulation time remaining in this first half in Tarneit, it's still locked at 0-0 between Western United and Sydney FC. And the big question coming into this one was who was going to stand up and finish off the opportunities. And so far, there haven't been too many, but that is going to be the big question mark that hangs over this one as it continues on. Oh, look at this from Kudleshi, the debutant. Jack Morgan was playing advantage. And that is how he's explaining it to Bessie and Kutleshi, who is showing some silky skills, the 16-year-old.
Not just silky skills, but belief.
Look at this.
Confidence. It's great to see from a young player.
Honestly, he's been one of the best performers in this first half, the 16-year-old. As Western, off they go down the left. Heavy touch from Russell under the pressure of Grant. Both sides hunting a spot in the round of 16 for the first time in a couple of years. Sydney went out last year to Oakley Cannons, stunned on the opening night in the round of 32 last year, 3-1. And Western going out in the playoffs. Well, let's head back down to Zappers on the bench. Zappers, what have you made of this first half?
Yeah, it's been really entertaining, as you've been pointing out. But just want to touch on, you mentioned Sydney FC pinching a playoff Western Sydney Wanderers. Well, same story for Bessian Kutleshi. He was actually part of Melbourne City's academy, hadn't been signed. And Western United said, you know what, boy, you're from this side of town. How about a contract? We'll sign you up. And they haven't regretted it since. He's been here for a year, and what we've seen in the first 45 minutes of this game is that he has got a very bright future. He lives on the western side of Melbourne. He was making the trek all the way to Casey, which is almost a 2-hour drive, boys, in peak hour traffic. So it certainly suits him from that perspective as well.
Thank you, Zappers. There's a little bit of a nervy moment for Sydney. It continues here. Wallity. And now Laval, tight angle, has been closed up. Wallity hanging it up. And now the strike from Bozanovsky just wouldn't quite sit for him.
Well, it's another example of treading that tightrope, isn't it, for Sydney FC, playing out from the back. Herfsloot getting himself into trouble on that occasion. And then I was a bit surprised Reece Bozanovsky took it with his left foot then. I thought he'd taken a good first touch off his chest to get the ball down. He could have swung his right foot through it, maybe with a little bit of reverse swing. Of course, it's much easier done from up here in the commentary box than it is down there on the pitch in the heat of the moment. But a half chance gone begging for Western United.
Laval. And that ball over hit.
What about Zappers, by the way? Fountain of knowledge.
He's all over it. I love a bit
Incredible
of academy pinching, don't you, Mossy?
Oh, it's
just sows the seeds of discontent ahead of the season to come. Kutleshi, a North Sunshine junior. Tobias Servin is also on the bench for Western United. We might get a look at him a little bit later in this match, but yeah, there's some talent in the teenagers at Western United. There's Lolly onto that left, looking to slip it through, but they just have not got any change, have they? Quintal and Yulee playing in that elevated front two for Sydney. Would you call it a front two, Mossy?
Yeah, I mean, they are playing as a front two, but I think it's more as false nines dropping in. I mean, they're both creative players. They're not by any stretch battering rams or out and out number nines.
Yeah, and that's why the reason for my question, because we really have not seen them in any kind of elevated position, creating, having a strike on goal. Sutton. And Wallerty. Little scoop up there from Ocon Jr. All getting a little bit scrappy in midfield. Frustrating. Ufi Tale, and now Western United through Tate Russell. A chance to stretch his legs. And then cut onto the right. Thurgate. And a really difficult task ahead of him. And there is no additional time in this first half. It's been tight, it's been tense, and it has been frustrating, especially for Sydney FC. But the good news for them is they're still on level terms with Western United. Half-time in Tarnee. It is Western United 0, Sydney FC 0.
What are you doing?
We're planking.
It's because of our internet providers.
We're stuck in 2011.
Same slow internet speeds.
And high prices.
It's like a nightmare.
Enough planking. Superloop is a network purpose-built for the super-fast future of the internet. You are free.
Don't take it lying down, Australia. Refresh your internet.
You are free.
chance inside. But for me, based on the first half, Western United looked more likely. They've been defending well, their energy is good, their intensity's been good, their transition to attack has created some half chances. We'll just be looking to tighten the screws in the second half.
Well, just having a little look to see if there's any change. That looks as though Western United unchanged at half-time. Bessie and Kutleshi, one of the real bright spots in that first half. The 16-year-old current Joey, and he's been dynamic for Western United on their right edge. He probably in a battle this season with Charbel Shamoon, Mossy, and he's certainly making a good fist of it.
He certainly is down that right-hand side. He's showed maturity beyond his years. He's done his defensive job very well. He's got forward, injected himself at the right times in that first half. So we're looking for consistency to put two halves together.
So pretty much ready to go in this second half. The DJ just building the atmosphere here for the second 45. And here we go. We're underway in the second half in Tarneet. Will we find a goal scorer, or will we be heading for an extra half an hour and extra time? Only time will tell. No doubt both of these two sides would be keen to get it done in the 90 and get themselves through to the last 16. Tate Russell playing the left-back role tonight. Another option for John Aloisi on the right, of course, but filling in on the left with Ben Garuccio unable to play tonight due to that FIFA registration ban on Western United as Thurgate. Dylan Leonard. And it probably tells you the story, doesn't it, Mossy, of the first half when we say that Dylan Leonard, Western United centre-back, had the best chance of the first half. And it was a point-blank save from Hersloot, which saved the day for Sydney.
Yeah, that's right. And it came from a set piece, obviously, and Sydney not defending it well. The goalkeeper did his job in the end. But you can't have the ball bouncing within the 6-yard box from a corner, particularly around that far post area. The chances at both ends have been few and far between. I don't remember Matt Sutton pulling off a save.
There's a turnover from Hersloot. And now Grimaldi, deflection. This will not be a corner. That is great work from Ryan Grant to ensure it's just a throw in for Western. Michael Zapponi sideline for us tonight. Zappers, did you hear any messages from the coaches at half-time?
Well, what I can see, Benny, though, is Joe Lolly looks very, very proppy indeed. He came off, looked okay at the start of the second half, but looks to be limping and not running freely at all. Might have been something that he did just as the second half recommenced, but we'll keep a close eye on him because he might not be long for this game.
Thank you, Zappers. Yeah, he's certainly looking a little stilted, isn't he, Joe Lolly? So maybe an opportunity knocks for one of the young boys on the bench, likes of Lacey, Toure, back in the A-League this year.
Well, as much as you want to stay alive in the Cup, you don't want to be taking risks with a key player like Joe Lolly at this stage of pre-season. You want all your key players to have a good pre-season under their belt and be fit and firing for the start of the season.
Laval, Russell stabbing it into the box. Spills here for Laval. Just got away from him though, so he looked to chest it down. And Courtney Perkins gets a push. And he looked like he was diving off the 10-metre platform.
Well, I'll have to say I'm surprised Jake Nadowski didn't get a yellow card then. That was quite a cynical foul. Both hands in the back. Broke up what was starting to build to be somewhat of a promising defence into attack situation for Sydney.
So Lolly on to Kamijo, who earns the free kick. So A-League clubs performing well in those other clashes tonight in the Australia Cup. Don't forget, 9 p.m. kickoff. Olympic Kingsway and Melbourne Victory. So wall-to-wall football all the way through tonight. We had the draw as well for the AFC Women's Asian Cup for next year. The Matildas in that group with South Korea, Iran and the Philippines. So there's a Western United connection. Mark Torcaso, the former A-League women's coach at Western United, in charge of the Philippines. They play in the very first match of the tournament in Perth. So what an intriguing storyline there. So a big night of football here in the Australia Cup as well.
That's exciting, isn't it? The Asian Cup on home soil. The beloved Matildas, once again, no doubt will capture the hearts and minds of the Australian public. Can't wait. 2 massive tournaments in 2 years. Throw in there the last World Cup in Qatar for the Socceroos. The Socceroos have qualified automatically for the next World Cup. Great time for our national senior teams.
In March next year, that tournament. Who will it be to march through here to the round of 16 of the Australia Cup? Sydney FC able to find a little bit of width on offer via Pat Wood down the left. Popovich and Courtney Perkins. Joe Lolly tracking back. One of a number of Sydney players who won this competition back in 2023. Courtney Perkins. Pat Wood was also part of that team. Brian Grant when they beat Brisbane Roar 3-1. And Pat Wood very nearly able to bring that under control. Ocon Jr. And Lolly sizing it up. Joe Lolly wasn't far away from that top corner, and Sydney some promising build-up.
Yeah, that's right. This was a good passage of play. This is Joe Lolly combining with Paul Ocon Jr. That was sloppy outside of the left foot. This was better. This was much better. And I counted 3 or 4 times that Paul Ocon Jr. had possession and just gave it away with sloppy passes with the outside of the foot. We know technically he's a very good player. Those passes from his feet are absolutely crucial to keeping possession and building an attack. I think it's fair to say with Joe Lolly's last strike on the ball that he's maybe warming into this second half. Certainly if there was anything wrong with his groins or his left leg, he wouldn't have pulled the trigger like that.
Are you saying that maybe it just takes a little bit more time for the 32-year-old to get the the blood flowing again,
Well,
getting those joints creaking.
I did watch him come back onto the pitch after half-time, and he did look a little bit stiff until he got, let's just say, oil in the joints.
Well, it is about 9 degrees and dropping. Zappers has got a few layers on. He can testify to how cold it is. And this is a free kick for Western. Zappers, how chilly is it down there on the sideline?
Yeah, I'm starting to not be able to feel my toes at this point of time. No, it's getting colder, and I think you're absolutely right. I think Joe Lolly just took a little bit of time to warm up because he's now moving freely. The other big news from half-time, gents, is there's been a lot of talk about Western United and their future. Well, I can tell you the very buoyant mood at half-time up in the VIP room.
Kutleshi with the cross.
Stay with play there, but yeah, very buoyant mood, talking about the new investors and the fact that this issue that may be resolved very, very soon, and the development across the road and the new stadium across the road could be starting very, very soon as this issue is resolved. But very buoyant mood. They showed a presentation of what the new stadium would look like, the accommodation that would go with it, the housing development that would go with it. So despite all the negative publicity of the last few weeks, I can tell you that here in Tarneit, they are very confident that things will pick up from this point on.
Well, that is fabulous news, Zappers. We hope that's all sorted.
There's two bits of fabulous news out of that. First of all, Zappa's got up into the corporate box at half-time to warm his toes. And secondly, the intel that he picked up from that corporate box. But that's what we need, positivity around the A-League, and you never like to read these negative headlines. So if that's the case, that is really good to hear.
And we know what a benefit is for Western United to have their own stadium. Look at the issue that a lot of clubs have, including Sydney FC, potentially not being able to play at Allianz this season because of those drainage developments. As Sydney with this cross, back post, there's the header off the post from the captain, Grant. And then plays the 1-2 with Lolly, back into the 6-yard box. They recycle it through Lolly, who drives it wide of goal, and Sutton didn't have to try and save it, and in the end he's going to concede a corner kick. Well, it was going well wide.
Well, I thought it had already crossed the white line when Sutton handled it, but I'm not sure why he would have made a save. It was going well wide.
So in comes the corner, and the back post, and it came from Grant once again. It was certainly a discussion for John Aloisi this week around where they want to improve this season, Western. And one of those was defensively, wants them to keep more clean sheets. Matt Sutton with 5 last season. He said defensively we were good for the most part last season. They did have the 4th best defence, but just wants them to have more clean sheets, be more ruthless as they look to counter-attack now. Kutleshi crossing to Wallity. Can he find the pass out wide? He can. Nadovski barreling forward. And Ryan Grant has to concede a corner. So this match just coming to life a little bit here, Mossy, in this second half.
Yeah, and it needs to, doesn't it? In the top third, West United fashioned this opportunity really well. Nadovski takes his man on, gets around Joel King, and I think it was Ryan Grant pulling off a really important save using his sliding tackle, using his experience.
So that was the end of the section for Jake Nadovski, and on comes the 18-year-old Mark Leonard, older brother, only just older than his younger brother Dylan Leonard, the 17-year-old. He's Western's leading goal scorer in the Victorian Premier League 1 competition, a hat-trick against Kingston City earlier in the season. Thurgate's corner. And it spills here for Kutleshi. Urged to shoot by the green and black faithful, and didn't he do that?
Well, again, it's just another show of confidence from the young player. Kutleshi, to get the ball down quickly under pressure and swing his right foot through it and get it on target from the edge of the area. He's really impressed tonight.
Well, all of a sudden, there's a bit of spice about this second half, Mossy.
Well, there has to be a winner and a loser tonight, doesn't there? So,
oh, Kutleshi has copped a late one there from Wood. Here is Mark Leonard's first involvement. Drops it off to Grimaldi. Went via Sydney for another corner. So Western pushing on now. Grimaldi looking to find the cross. Uses Wallity. Now Wood emerges with the ball. As well as goal scorers, we've been talking about these two sides needing to find them. Creators as well. Sydney without two of their top three. Now tonight, Wahim, who's left the club, and Costa. Joe Lolly was top last season with 7. Costa and Wahim rounding out the top 3. And for Western, Danzaki, Botic, Garuccio, top 3. And they're all not playing tonight. Botic and Danzaki have left the club. Garuccio, as we mentioned, unable to play tonight. And Lolly, that was a mistimed pass towards Ocon Jr. And Wallity springing forward. And that is as cynical as it gets.
I'm not sure I've got any words for that.
Well, if that's not an orange card, I don't know what is.
Well, he sized him up. I think he's realised quite early on that he's not going to win the foot race. So
well, here we go.
Resorted to another code altogether.
So, no, it wasn't Holman. It was Camijo. Yellow card there. Now, Matthias McAllister, son of former A-League striker Dylan, about to make his senior debut. But they are not going to make the change at a set. Well, hang on a second. Are they going to? They're breaking the golden rule, are they, Mossy?
This is throwing the coaching copybook out the window.
I think Sydney did this last season anyway. I remember it happening, I think, in a couple of matches, so they don't care about the don't make any changes at set pieces. So Holman is on for Camijo, who just went into the book for the yellow card. And McAllister. Scored a hat-trick in the Sky Blues' first friendly of the new season against Hakoah, a 7-0 win. Quintal, the man replaced. McAllister out there. First duty is to defend this set piece. And Thurgate is floating it. So here we go. 28 minutes of regulation time and ticking in Tarneet. Wallity should catch up with this. The last touch was off Arbel. This is what you get, isn't it, Mossy, in a knockout match of football? As you get closer and closer to the 90, the tension just rises. Bit of anxiety, nerves. You know, one moment of magic, one mistake, and you're potentially either into the last 16 or gone.
Correct, but at some point, it's got to be about the team that's going to take the initiative and go on and win the game. If you keep going with the negative mindset of we don't want to lose it.
Oh, turned over. Oh, well, that will draw some complaints from the home crowd. Will it draw any from you, Mossy?
Let's back the referee on this occasion. Looked a little bit soft, but you can see why it was given. Those substitutions from Ufitale seem to just be straight swaps. McAllister Getting into that front line as we would have expected, of course, for Quintal. Corey Holman into the midfield.
Here's some high praise for McAllister. Ufi Tale comparing him to an Adam Taggart-like player, and said that he's come through the academy really impressed. Playing in the NPL side, gets his chance now in the senior side. Senior competitive debut for McAllister, and no doubt, and he said this in the interviews he's given, Matthias McAllister, that his father Dylan always there to give him a few tips. Dylan McAllister playing for the Mariners, Wellington, Gold Coast and Melbourne Heart during his playing days in Australia. Also spent some time overseas as well.
Good Northern Beaches boy from Sydney is Dill.
Mark Leonard. And Grimaldi. Bozanovsky. So those two key strikers that have come on, more target options for these two sides. Leonard for Western, McAllister for Sydney. Can they try and find him here? Kudleshi uses Thurgate. And King able to clear it for the moment, easing the pressure for Sydney. He's tried to pinch about 15 metres there. Kudleshi. Oh, Russell. A little bit of razzle-dazzle from Tate Russell. Thurgate slipping it through. Wallity, lots of space down the left. Wallity, though, goes it alone. It does eventually get to Tate Russell. Leonard. Bozanovsky and Laval. Thurgate. Space for Russell, cutting it back onto his right.
Well, he's going to do that more often than not, Tate Russell, being a right-footed player. I mentioned before some of the right-back options at the disposal of John Aloisi. Tate Russell's another one.
Oh, Thurgate, what a win that is. Pinching it off Grant and earns a corner here for Western United. Well, that's what he can do, Angus Thurgate. He is an expert pickpocketer.
He certainly is. He knows how to join the opposition 18-yard box from midfield as well. I've seen that plenty of times. This is a good tussle down the left-hand side. Thurgate gets the better of Grant. And there's Paul Ocon Jr. who comes to the rescue of his side.
Sydney bench watch on as Thurgate drives it low to the near post. Wallity. Thurgate. Off the head of Imai. Herfsloot maybe not as convincing on the first attempt. And now able to look for the early release. And had to invite Matt Sutton out for a clean-up mission.
Well, that's where you can really utilise the pace of Pat Wood with that early release, turning defence into attack in the blink of an eye. Herfsloot. Pat Wood not far away from getting on it. Good sweeper-keeper action from Matt Sutton.
So Reece Ewley, first competitive appearance for Sydney FC, comes to an end. And on comes Al Hassan Toure, back in Australia. Mark Viduka medal winner in the Australia Cup final back in 2019 when he scored in that 4-0 win for Adelaide against Melbourne City. Adelaide from 2019 to 2021, and then MacArthur 21 to 23. Sutton on the chase. Here comes a corner for Sydney.
It looks as though Toure has gone straight out to the left-hand side with McAllister coming inside with Pat Wood to form that two-pronged strike force.
In comes the corner. Wood was rising. Grant. And Imai with a header away. Ocon Jr. Good speed and drive, but Angus Thurgate using all that experience to shepherd him over the byline. So what impact can Toure have on this game? As I mentioned, winner of this competition with Adelaide 2019. Also won it with MacArthur in 2022. He's been to Turkey, he's been to France and the USA since he's last played in Australia. Leonard looking for his brother.
They would have dreamt of that commentary in the backyard as kids, wouldn't they?
Love to see the telepathic understanding between those two from one end of the pitch to the other. Don't you love it? It's set up perfectly, isn't it? One's a defender, one's a striker.
Yeah, great to see. Always great to see two brothers or sisters, of course. Ninja A-League Women's. And they do get their opportunity to play at the top level with each other. You can just imagine the hours that they've spent in the backyard at home, growing up, or down the local park.
Oh, nice you mentioned that. As soon as Corey Holman got on the ball there, of course, his sister Shay playing in the A-League Women's.
Jake, I think I saw Jake signed overseas in the last couple of days.
Talented family.
Walsall, I think I saw. In League 2.
Yeah, that's right. Deserved that move. And one of MacArthur's best.
Yeah, he certainly has. Just one of the players I think Milo Sturjovski and his coaching staff have done a fantastic job with over the last few seasons.
So free kick for Sydney. Inside the final 18 minutes of regulation time. Are we headed, Phil Moss, into extra time? Second time in 2 days, basically, isn't it? Because we had that all A-League affair. We didn't have an extra time match for a while in the Australia Cup. Got through the first 2 match days, and maybe we're going to get 2 in 2 match days. Thurgate put a little bit of mayo on it.
Well, look, from a coach's perspective, as we just see Joe Lolly dispossessed there, and Thurgate and Ryan Grant, two experienced campaigners coming together. But certainly as a coach, you probably don't want extra time at this stage of the pre-season.
So McAllister almost slipped there in front of Toure. Holman.
One observation, Ben, is we haven't seen any Western United players at this end of the pitch slipping over like we did the Sydney FC players in the first half.
Home ground advantage certainly helps. Toure. And Thurgate over for a corner though.
We have to give you a lesson in which line is which. Ben Homer is always out for a throw in.
What did I say?
Yeah, for a corner.
Oh, jeepers, sorry. Oh, well.
I can only imagine what it'll be like when we go to extra time and penalties.
Past my bedtime. Popovic. There's Lolly shifting it onto the left, hanging it up. Toure arriving. Sydney FC have got the goal, and it's Matthias McAllister on senior debut for the Sky Blues. The son of a gun. And now he's got one of his own for Sydney.
Well, that is a fantastic finish from the youngster. Sydney FC do really well. Popovic into the feet of Lolly. We know how dangerous he is cutting back onto that left foot. And look at that, just floats the ball to the back post to use the aerial strength of young McAllister. And gee whiz, that's like ripping a page out of the history books, watching his father do exactly the same years and years ago. That's a wonderful finish for Sydney FC. A rare opening for them in the opposition 18-yard box, and they've made it pay.
So, just inside the final 15 minutes, has Matthias McAllister done enough? We were asking at halftime, where are the goals coming from? Where are those target men? They were sitting on the bench, and McAllister strikes for Sydney. Lawton is thrust out there. You remember his name, that incredible bicycle kick in January against Perth to win them that remarkable game of football. We'll get some further clarification as to those changes. I am looking and seeing Bozanovsky as the man who has been replaced, and that has been confirmed. So Reece Bozanovsky replaced by Jordan Loughton.
Well, you were mentioning Joe Lolly as the go-to for Sydney FC. He's come up trumps, just getting the ball in that preferred area of his, that right-hand channel, cutting inside and finding the delivery to the back post. And there was two of them lining up, McAllister and I think it was Al-Hassan Toure just in behind him, but McAllister wasn't leaving it to chance. He knew what he wanted to do with it. It's a very, very good guided header.
And he's in great form, as we touched on. He scored a hat-trick against Hakoah in that first friendly for Sydney FC this season on the 8th of July.
You just wonder if some of his family and friends aren't with the Sydney FC supporters, because he celebrated the goal and then he spotted someone in the crowd and made a beeline for them. I haven't seen the angle of who he ran to. It might have just been the Sydney FC fans, but
I wonder if his daddy's in the house tonight. Wouldn't
you do wonder?
Surprise me. Let's head down and check in with Zappers.
Yeah, another change for Western United too, just after that goal. Ollie Laval off for Luke Vickery, who we saw make his debut last season as well, who normally plays out on the wing. But it was interesting, just before that goal, the message went out from the Sydney FC bench, and Ufuk Talay was to get the ball long and early to Al-Hassan Toure. We saw Alexander Popovic do it on one occasion just after that instruction went out. And then Lolly's ball was in that direction as well. Whether he was going for McAllister or not, I'm not sure, but certainly Al-Hassan Toure was lurking at that back post as well.
And it was Popovic who got the ball out to Lolly early, so clearly hearing the instructions from his coach. There's a shot of the Sydney FC fans in the corner, providing great support away from home for their team.
So confirmation there, Luke Vickery. And as Zappa said, he was given opportunities last season off the bench, 12 appearances for Western, 11 of those off the pine for the Box Hill Junior. Scored in round 21 against the Mariners, so no doubt John Aloisi is looking for a goal from Vickery late on here to send this one potentially into extra time, or maybe pull it out of the fire and win it late on.
Well, Sydney FC have got something to defend now. Western United with something to chase, and for their dominance on the ball, Western United, they haven't got a lot to show for it. From chances created, clear chances created. So they'll be looking to improve in that area over the next 10 or so minutes plus injury time.
A big loss for Western though, without Ibasuki available tonight, and of course Bosic, who scoring for fun last season. And that's always the hardest challenge, isn't it, trying to find a regular goal scorer. Western have to find that partner in crime for Ibasuki this season.
Yeah, that's right. And that was my point earlier about Sydney too. You lose a Kaczarski, you lose a Segicic, Klamala. You know, there's a lot of goals in those players, both from starting positions and coming off the bench as impact players.
Well, it's a great point as well. Kaczarski not available tonight for Western, and that's a big loss for them. He's a man who's scored some significant goals for Sydney down the years. So Joe Lolly goes down. So they've got a couple of changes left up their sleeve, Sydney. Holman, McAllister, Toure used. They've still got Lacey and Akon as attacking players. Alex Grant as well, potentially, if they want to sandbag late on. They throw him out there. Missed the back end of last season with that calf injury.
Well, there's certain players you want to give minutes to in these games. There's other players that you maybe would like to just keep fresh for the training pitch. I don't know where Alex Grant's up to, obviously. But what about that for the confidence of young Matthias McAllister? Coming off the bench, getting the go-ahead goal. Of course, you'll be hoping it's a winning goal, but instant impact for the first team.
May get another chance here as Holman drives forward. Comes off the back of a Western United heel. And just looking at Western options for them, so they've used Vickery, Lawton, Leonard. They've also got Tobias Servant, who's come with big raps. The 17-year-old. John Aloisi was telling me that his mum still drives him to training from Geelong. The North Geelong Warriors junior. And he's a talented athlete, 400-metre silver medalist in the Victorian All Schools under 15 level. So he is a man. It could be an option late on here in Tarnee. Oh, well, it's been a relatively quiet second half for Herfsloot.
Well, the Hahn How Good replay will show us here. This isn't the greatest of back passes from Captain Courageous Ryan Grant. Look at that. He puts it at a really nagging length and height. It's skidded off the wet surface.
Are you saying the corridor of uncertainty?
Well, I'm just saying goalkeepers never got the artistry of a number 10, have they, with their feet?
Fergate. Delivery, very dangerous. Oh, it was inviting. And Vickery's cross earns another corner. Well, If they put in another delivery in like that, Western, it could well be 1-1.
Yeah, very good delivery. They've looked threatening from set pieces tonight at different occasions, Western United.
So Wallerty, a little bit shorter, more whip, and it ends in disappointment for Western and Kotleshi.
Well, they've really got to go for it, West United now. General Wissy will be extremely frustrated if they can't convert what they've been doing in transition and build up with the ball.
Well, how significant is that save from Hersfleet in the first half? Now, you think back to that moment. Denied Leonard, save with the left mid at point blank range. Absolutely massive from a player who will most likely be in the young Socceroos squad for the Under-20 World Cup in September. And Wolfie Talley was talking to me about that, saying, well, if we do make it deep into the Cup, yes, a benefit. We've got players that are in that team, but we're going to lose a few of them. Hersfleet certainly one. Camijo, Quintal, Ocon Jr. as well. Yulee, so...
Gee, that is...
Yeah.
It's a lot of players. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? If you develop the players to that level, or you sign players who are at that level, you want to promote players through their career and get them into national team setups, but it can hurt you depending on the time of year.
So Dink over the top in the vicinity of Thurgate. Hersfleet nicely done in the air. Well, the only benefit I can see for Sydney, yes, of course, they want to win the Cup, but it's not in the middle of the A-League season. I feel like that would be more disruptive. So it's sort of halfway through the season. Players go away, potentially get injuries, come back. So at least it is before the season. So if there are any issues, they can be ironed out. Holman and Lolly couldn't squeeze in between Russell. And now Vickery. Down he goes. And I'd be surprised if Ocon Jr. doesn't see a yellow card here. And it looks as though that it will not happen. And Vickery is quickly back to his feet. Down he goes. Goal kick is the call.
Well, as soon as he took that first touch, he made Ryan Grant favourite in that duel, Vickery. I thought he was lining up for an early delivery in behind the Sydney FC backline. He just gave Ryan Grant the opportunity to get back and defend the situation, which he's so experienced at doing, of course.
What about the previous free kick? Were you surprised no yellow card, Mossy?
Not overly. I mean, our referee Jack Morgan hasn't exactly been flippant with his yellow cards this evening. I think the bookings that he's given are the right bookings.
He's been very selective, and last season he was a referee who would give out a few more cards, so maybe that's something he's thinking about.
They're in match management mode now, Sydney FC. This is not where Western United want the ball.
So Sydney, they make it through to the round of 16 tonight. It would be a record equaling 9th time joining Western Sydney and Adelaide on that mark. Adelaide with a chance to make it 10 tomorrow against Newcastle. Mark Milligan up against the team that he was the assistant coach to Carl Viardov for a few years. Now as the head coach of the Newcastle Jets.
Oh, it's great to see Millsy get an opportunity as the boss. He's got such a fantastic football mind. was a leader on the pitch as a player, almost like having a coach out there, the way he used to direct the players around him. So it'd be great to see what he makes of this opportunity at Newcastle.
And I can tell you it's exciting. A lot of local talent getting their opportunity this season for the Jets, which hasn't always been the case over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. So a little bit of cramp here for the teenager. He's done a mountain of work as Kutleshi.
He can be very proud of his performance this evening. He may, if it stays this way, end up on the losing side, but he's had a fantastic game tonight. You just see the replay of that foul from Kutleshi.
No doubt take a lot from this experience. And how much stoppage time are we getting here from the board of Declan Woods?
Well, you'd imagine there'd be between 3 and 5 minutes just for the subs alone.
And it's great we have a board tonight. Mossy, if you missed it on Sunday in the Perth-Wellington match, the referee's board actually got waterlogged, so it couldn't be used. Had to go back to the old-fashioned way.
No, I didn't miss it. We had extra time, we had penalties, we had lightning delays.
Well,
we had bloodshot eyes at work on Monday morning. The cup, it just keeps on giving, doesn't it?
It's magic. It is magic. And Western may be about to continue that. Vickery from distance. Hurst-Sloot. Comfortable. We have 2.5 minutes of stoppage time remaining. 2.5 minutes for Sydney to see out to get themselves through to the last 16. It's been a good night for the A-League men's clubs in the Australia Cup and those other fixtures. Good night for Sydney thus far. Still time for Western though. Leonard. A little bit of a stumble. Was there a handball there? Doesn't matter because McAllister, the man whose goal has been the difference, he's stopped in his tracks by Kutleshi. Leonard. And now Wallerty. Thurgate. Sky Blues surrounding him. Neat little clip over the top. Leonard. And Grant away. Nervy moments for the Sky Blues here. Loughton. And now Toure. He is quick and he will earn a free kick which will chew even more time off the clock.
Well, as soon as Toure looked up then and knocked the ball into space, Timothy Imai knew exactly what his only option was, and that was to bring the speedster down. He had no eyes on the ball. Made the only decision that was available to him.
So this is a great story here. Kota Kador back playing competitive football for the first time since April 2024 when he injured his ACL. So he missed the entirety of last season. Gets some final minutes here. Just fantastic to see. For the 21-year-old, Whittlesea Junior. Loughton. And King tracking back.
Well, this is the final throw of the dice. Can they find something, Western?
Dylan Leonard probably has had the best chance of this match for Western in the first half. Has to track back. Loughton. It's all on this for Western. Kador. Now with Wallerty. How's the delivery? In towards Leonard. Oh! Jack Morgan says Sydney FC are going through to the round of 16 for a record equaling 9th time in their history. And it was the young gun, the 18-year-old Matthias McAllister, son of former A-League striker Dylan, who grabbed his own headlines tonight. A hat-trick scorer earlier in the pre-season. Now he scores the winner on senior debut. It finishes in Tarneit. Western United 0, Sydney FC 1. And Phil Moss, as we reflect on the highlights, it was a match of limited opportunities, but it was the marksman who took full advantage of that half opportunity.
That's exactly what it was. It was great play down the right-hand side from Joe Lolly to pick out McAllister at the back post, as we see some of the action throughout the game. But for the dominance that Western United had with the ball at times, they really didn't create enough to really trouble Gus Herfsloot in the Sydney FC goal. Here's the big chance that they had. Herfsloot gets his left mitt to the ball with a really strong save. It was poorly defended by Sydney in the first instance. But really, apart from that, Western didn't really bother the Sydney FC marksman that much. That was a comfortable save. And here's the goal. Popovic into the feet of Joe Lolly, who cuts inside, as we know he's so good at doing, and just floats the ball to the back post. That is an excellent header from young McAllister. And as I said during the call, that is right out of his father Dylan's copybook. Just knew exactly what he had to do with it, put it back the way the ball had come from, and caught Matt Sutton flat-footed for the go-ahead goal and the eventual winner.
So Sydney FC winning on the road here. They have now beaten Western United in both of their meetings in the Australia Cup. Other win back in 2023. And it also means, Mossy, interesting little curious stat of the 11 round of 32 matches completed so far. 4 winners from Victoria, 5 from New South Wales, and the other 2 from New Zealand. So it has been a Victorian New South